years ago, when North Park was still affordable and it was legal to drink on the beach, San Diego didn't have a housing crisis as we understand it today, but it was taking root below the surface. Much of the reason it's so hard to build housing today goes back to the zoning decisions of yesteryear, when developable land was plentiful. Unfortunately, that is no longer the case. This wouldn't be an issue if people just stopped coming here, but for the last 3 decades, the region has consistently added more jobs than it has homes. Combine that with today's high labor and material costs, building regulations, and anti-housing sentiment, and well, you have a housing shortage. How do you feel about the housing crisis?
Oh, I love it. I mean, can you believe what I get away with charging these people?
Housing costs are so high that they might actually lead to a population decrease for the first time in decades, but that won't be enough to get us out of this mess. We need to build more homes, but to do that, we need to understand why they're so hard to build in the first place. San Diego passed its first zoning ordinance in 1923, and it was basically a thinly veiled mechanism for racial segregation. This ordinance determined what could be built where, and it strongly favored single-family homes over apartments and townhouses. This has barely changed over the last 100 years. More than 3/4 of the region's residential land is still zoned for single-family houses. On top of this, San Diego faces unique geographic constraints that limit our ability to sprawl. Our options are basically to build east or build up. But sprawl has its own issues, such as wildfires and long commutes that are bad for the climate. The truth is, if we want to house more people on less land, we need to embrace more multifamily housing, like apartments and townhouses. Now, we could change zoning laws to allow apartments in more areas, but you'll have to take that up with the NIMBYs.
How do you feel about more apartments in this neighborhood?
What? They're going to be building more apartments in this neighborhood?
Where are you calling?
My yard's my guy.
It stands for Not in My Backyard, and it's a nickname for property owners who fear that new housing could reduce their property values, create congestion, and really just compromise the vibes at large. And they hold a lot of political influence. Construction costs have skyrocketed over the past few years for reasons I'm sure you've heard before. Supply chain issues, labor shortages, tariffs, general political uncertainty.
Yeah, so I'm finally a homeowner. It's just gonna be me, my boyfriend, my best friend from college, her boyfriend, this horse, and some guy from Craigslist. The best thing, the house is only 45 minutes from the beach.
Interest rates have also been really high, which makes it difficult to get loans to build stuff, unless you're a large corporate developer. This makes it very hard to build any truly affordable housing. Without government subsidies, there's really only one way to do it. You build a lot of expensive apartments in the same building, and then use those higher rents to make up for the lower rent revenue from the affordable apartments. San Diego requires at least 10% of apartments in new developments to be affordable, but we still got a long way to go before we meet demand. Building regulations are important to ensure new developments meet certain community needs, but too much regulation can slow building down to a halt. It's classic capitalism. Since 1970, the California Environmental Quality Act has helped ensure that new buildings are made sustainably, but it was just massively overhauled because it also made it very easy for anti-development groups to kill projects, which stunted housing production across the state for years. There are also requirements like parking minimums. Even just a few spots can add tens of thousands of dollars to the cost of a building. Or the double stairwell requirement, a fire safety rule that doesn't actually make buildings safer, but it does make them harder to build, more expensive, and uglier.
If they gave me the keys, I could solve the housing crisis like that.
And how would you do that?
Let me show you. I think that's my favorite part.
Total deregulation clearly isn't the answer, unless, of course, we want a whole bunch of other problems. But adding a certain amount of flexibility to the development process could go a long way towards helping us meet our housing needs, which we are currently nowhere near doing. The important question here, really, is how do we get people housed and keep them there? Part of the affordability issue is simply supply and demand. We don't have enough housing, and we need to build more of it. And every neighborhood in the city will have to do its part. Cities could also save a ton of money by simply helping people pay rent, which is far less costly than paying to get them off the streets. And tenant protections are another useful tool for keeping people housed by preventing displacement. There are also a few corners of the market that might benefit from more regulation, such as short-term vacation rentals and corporate mega landlords.
I don't know anything about the price-fixing algorithm, okay?
I didn't say anything about a price-fixing algorithm.
Cut the cameras, cut the cameras.